man is shot. A house is shot up after some late-night violence on this Lincoln County street.
The family of 2 victims who died on a dangerous stretch of road say they are thankful that the changes are finally coming.
Your bank card could be the target of a scam that's growing in popularity.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening to you. A late-night shooting sent one person to the hospital and left a home riddled with bullet holes.
It happened on Powell Street in Stanford. Police say that one person standing on the porch was hit by gunfire, but they say 2 others inside the home barely missed being hit. Phil Pendleton talked with a neighbor who saw it all play out in our top story at 5:30.
It began as a man was walking down the middle of Powell Street. Police say he was intoxicated.
Yelling and cussing at the people on the porch, and they were saying stuff back, and it just sort of kind of escalated after the bottle was thrown.
Police say the shooter threw the bottle first, and then he opened fire after someone on the porch threw the bottle back. Nearly a half-dozen rounds were fired.
Like the 4th of July, like, you know, the pop, pop, pop noise of the gun. I was watching right at the same time out the window. You get to see the light coming from where the bullets are flying out.
The victim was shot in the lower abdomen. Police say at least 4 other bullet holes were found through the front door.
We had 3 other parties in the house at the time. The bullets did pass through the exterior wall and missed a couple of the parties very closely.
And after the shooting, police say that the shooter kept walking south on Powell Street and then was not seen again. Police say that some people inside the home did recognize him, and they say it's someone they've dealt with many times before.
The gentleman involved is a known felon, has had a long history, has spent a lot of time incarcerated.
Police say the victim was rushed to UK Hospital. Despite the serious nature of his injury, they believe he will recover. In Lincoln County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police have not released the names of the shooter or the victim. They say they're still interviewing witnesses and will have more to release later today. We do have some new information tonight about a death investigation out of Whitley County. The coroner now confirms the body found in a burned home on Maiden Bend Spur Road is 72-year-old Johnny Jones Jr. He lived in the home. The coroner also said today the autopsy showed that Jones did not die from the fire. Investigators now say they're waiting for more testing before ruling on the cause and the manner of his death.
Today, a county clerk was found guilty in a case involving the harassment of a college student. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Perry County. A jury convicted County Clerk Haven King of harassment and official misconduct. Last April, a woman told police that King followed her for miles and harassed her for driving a car with a handicap sticker. The woman recorded the incident. King will not spend time in jail. A judge ordered him to pay $750 in fines. In Rockcastle County, firefighters responding to a forest fire in Broadhead yesterday were in for a surprise. When they arrived, the property owner told crews that he had detained the person who set the fire. Fire crews put out the fire and waited for state police along with the Rockcastle County Sheriff's Office to arrive. Police say James Kidwell admitted to setting the fire and was arrested at the scene. Kidwell faces a felony charge for setting fire to land he doesn't own, along with some other drug-related charges.
A family in Scott County that lost 2 loved ones to a dangerous stretch of road have won their battle for changes. In the last year and a half, 4 people have died in crashes near Highway 227 and Duval Station Road near Stamping Ground. Victor Puente has more from Scott County.
In the span of a year, 4 people died along this stretch of Stamping Ground Road, but there are changes coming aimed at making the road safer. Those changes were led by the family of 2 of the victims. In October of 2014, Trevor Spencer, his 3-year-old son Skylar, and a 3rd person, Corey Wilcoxon, were killed in a crash on Stamping Ground Road.
The shock still hasn't wore off. His father and I haven't even begun to grieve, kind of just threw ourselves in this project. And
Trevor's father, Keith Spencer, and his fiancee, Elizabeth Carroll, have been pushing for changes along this road since that crash.
It's so much ugly that had to be something good come from it.
In 2015, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet installed signs alerting drivers to a curve in the road. But just a few days later, 23-year-old Paul Burton died in a crash. But now there are permanent changes coming to this stretch of Stamping Ground Road. Carroll says a meeting with the Secretary of the Transportation Cabinet, Greg Thomas, and State Representative Chuck Tackett has led to a $2.5 million project that will restructure this curve. She said Tackett had a personal connection to their story.
He was one of the first responders on Trevor's accident, and he was trying to revive Skylar, and it was very heartbreaking to even hear what he was doing.
Representative Tackett tells me they expect the construction on these changes to be finished by 2019. In Scott County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Representative Tackett tells us the money for that project came from federal funds.
There is really no complaining. We've had a week of pretty perfect weather here in the Bluegrass, but all good things must come to an end.
And we do need the rain. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey with an early look at the forecast. Hi, Chris.
Hi, guys. Scattered is going to be the name of the rain game over the next few days. It's not going to be a widespread rain event, but you know what? We can use the drops, as Sam mentioned. Right now, it's all about summer. 80 to 85 again. About 82 Jackson. Boy, look at that view. Look at the mountains now beginning to green up on us. 84, a warm spot right now in Lexington, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures now compared to this same point yesterday are a little above what we were talking about 24 hours ago. 2 degrees warmer Lexington, Danville 5 degrees warmer. You are the top dog in the entire region at 86 degrees. Most areas low and mid 80s. Defender Radar Network, nothing across the area as of now. Let's step out the view a little bit and show you rain across parts of the Mississippi Valley. That'll roll on into town over the next few days. We are still going to keep them milder than normal temperatures, but some scattered showers and some thunderstorms will start to increase as we go into our Thursday. And just ahead, I'll show you why the majority of the rains may wait until Thursday night into Friday, guys. An hour-by-hour forecast up close and personal in just a few minutes.
All right, we'll see you then, Chris. Thank you. Police in Madison County have a warning after a rash of break-ins. Police in Berea say they've received numerous reports of break-ins and damage to cars and homes in the northern part of the city. Berea police are reminding people to lock their doors and not to leave any valuables in the vehicle.
Your bank account could be at risk because of a scam that's growing in popularity. It's called ATM skimming. Your bank card can be duplicated and then used for purchases without you knowing a thing. New data is showing that incidents of this crime have increased by more than 500%.
I did research into the transactions on my bank account. I was kind of like, maybe I did go to Subway until you saw it was in Canada.
Matt Bretzia says he swiped his bank card at an ATM inside Harrah's Resort Casino during a night out in Atlantic City. The next morning, just hours later, he found more than a dozen fraudulent charges on his bank account.
I had a missed call from the fraud department of my bank. They said, you know, it looks like your card's been skimmed. They told me they froze the account.
Software company FICO, which audits hundreds of thousands of ATMs nationwide, says instances of skimming rose 546% between 2014 and 2015.
We monitor all of the ATM networks here in the United States.
TJ Horan, Vice President of Fraud Solutions at FICO, says 60% of skimming incidents were recorded at ATMs that were not affiliated with a specific bank.
In a convenience store, in a gas station, organized financial crime rings have found out that there is some weakness here.
Somebody had gotten my number. They printed it and imprinted it into like a physical plastic card, and then they were just using it as like a point-of-sale swipe at all these different places.
Cards with microchips have become the new industry standard because they cannot be duplicated. Some banks have rolled out new cardless ATMs where consumers use smartphones instead of plastic cards. Contact your bank if you suspect that your card or your PIN have been compromised, and check your account frequently.
Zookeepers in Louisville unveiling their newest addition. Meet the new Zoo Baby in about 6 minutes.
I'm Bill Bryant. Big wins for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump as they now look forward to next week and more major primaries. And an honor for a former Lexington mayor. The bottom line is on the way.
I don't want to live with the uncertainties of Hep C.
Or wonder whether I should seek treatment. I am ready.
Because today, there's Harvoni, a revolutionary treatment for the most common type of chronic hepatitis C. Harvoni is proven to cure up to 99% of patients who've had no prior treatment. It's the one and only cure that's one pill once a day for 12 weeks. Certain patients can be cured with just 8 weeks of Harvoni. With Harvoni, there's no interferon, and there are no complex regimens. Tell your doctor if you have other liver or kidney problems, HIV, or other medical conditions, and about all the medicines you take, including herbal supplements. Taking amiodarone with Harvoni may cause a serious slowing of your heart rate. Common side effects of Harvoni may include tiredness, headache, and weakness.
I am ready to put Hep C behind me.
I am ready to be cured.
Are you ready? Ask your Hep C specialist if Harvoni is right for you.
Want to fill your garage with the best value brand in America? Honda's got it. During Honda's Dream Garage Sales Event, get a brand new 2016 CR-V, the #1 selling SUV, just $229 a month. Or drive with 0 down, 0 security, and 0 first month's payment. The 2016 CR-V comes fully loaded with available Honda Lane Watch, brake assist, and more. Just $229 a month or 0 due at signing. Honda's got it at your Central Kentucky Honda dealers.
How big is loyalty?
You're playing both sides.
If I have to turn on her, I'm ready to fight.
This is the time to make a move.
We got Julia on our side, and we're just unstoppable.
Just when you think you're safe, whoops, there goes another blind side.
This Thursday, you're invited to a new Big Bang Theory.
A party sub implies it's a party.
Your attendance implies it's not.
A new Big Bang Theory, CBS this Thursday.
Keep up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
Yesterday's New York primaries were big wins for frontrunners Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
Bill Bryant has more in today's Bottom Line.
Good evening. The presidential race moves to 5 states next week, including Pennsylvania, where voters will have their say after the frontrunners had big wins in New York's primary. Republican Donald Trump got more than 60% of the vote and walked away with the lion's share of the Republican delegates in his home state. It appears Ohio Governor John Kasich got 3 delegates in New York, and Senator Ted Cruz got no delegates from the Empire State. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton got a big win in the state that elected and re-elected her to the U.S. Senate. Clinton's win leaves Bernie Sanders facing an even stiffer path. At this point, he would have to win 73% of the remaining delegates to catch Clinton, and she holds the lead in the polls in most of the upcoming states. Clinton's team is already working in Kentucky on the May 17th primary. Sanders supporters have been meeting for weeks in small groups around the Commonwealth getting ready for the primary. Former Lexington Mayor Scotty Basler played large on the political scene for years in Central Kentucky as a district judge, vice mayor, Lexington mayor for more than a decade, and congressman from the 6th District. He also played basketball for UK under Adolph Rupp. Tomorrow, the city will unveil an official portrait of Basler in the lobby of the Urban County Government Center. Basler, who turns 75 this summer, still lives on his farm in Athens. He was Lexington mayor from 1982 to 1993. The Democratic U.S. Senate candidates debated last night at Simmons College. It was broadcast in Louisville. Lexington Mayor Jim Gray said Democrats need to push policies that create jobs. Former Frankfort City Commissioner Celeste Wilder called himself a progressive voice for Democrats. Jeff Kinder from Phelps, Tom Reckenwald of Louisville, and Rory Houlihan of Winchester are also running in the Senate race. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
A new addition at the Louisville Zoo is making her public debut. Starting tomorrow, visitors will be able to see the zoo's new baby gorilla, Kendi. Today, Kendi made her first appearance to the media. The baby was born premature in March, and her mother died from complications during birth. The zookeepers say the baby's name is in honor of Mom.
Her mom had a nickname. Her nickname was Squirrel, and we called her Squirrel because she just had this bright, active energy and agility. And so we decided to honor her mom by naming her the Swahili word for squirrel, which is Kendi.
Kendi's father was also with her for her media debut. Today, the zookeepers say they hope another female gorilla will take Kendi in as her own.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
Some sun, some clouds, and a whole lot of warm thermometer readings across central and eastern Kentucky. Summertime rolls on in the middle of April. Let's look outside. Let's hope summer doesn't necessarily mimic what April should look and feel like out there. Temperatures into the 80s and the sunny skies across the land, a little bit of high cloud cover. We're dropping it a little bit now into Danville, down 4 degrees. You were up to 86 a moment ago. 84 Lexington. Most thermometers will begin to settle down here into the upper 70s over the next hour and change. Defender Radar Network, dry central and eastern Kentucky. Let's get into western parts of the region where the air is moistening up just enough now to get in on a couple of light raindrops. The steadier rains are ahead of a cold front that's getting closer to the Mississippi Valley. That is still, though, inching its way to the east at a snail's pace. Out ahead of it, that means we get that bonus 80+ degree thermometer reading out there today. Rainfall forecast as we make our way through the next few days. What the models are trying to hint at would be the potential for some showers and some thunderstorms to fire up and come at us in waves. So this particular model is spitting out a little better than an inch of rain into parts of the area over the next couple of days. Best chance for that would be into sections of eastern Kentucky, at least on this particular model that has some local 1-inch amounts. Now, your 3-day threat track suggests the best chance for any rain would come Thursday night and into the day on Friday. That's why we're into the moderate category, just simply because you're going to have some scattered showers and thunderstorms to deal with. Nothing to really worry about on Saturday. It's exactly how we like it. New hour by hour. I mentioned we were up close and personal on the city of Lexington with some of those clouds. That computer model likes to kind of speed those up a little bit. 72 by lunchtime, mid-70s tomorrow afternoon with a chance for a shower or a thunderstorm. I think the best chance is late afternoon heading into tomorrow evening. And then it is game on into the day on Friday for some showers and some thunderstorms to crank up during that time. We'll start out your Friday right around 60 degrees. Watch that rain number, by the way, increasing. We'd like to see that. We're a little dry now. And as we go through the rest of the day on Friday, temperatures are noticeably cooler, but the rainfall numbers are a little higher. Out and about Friday evening, you may need the jackets by Friday evening at 11 with temperatures dropping into the mid and the upper 50s. Long range call over the next week to 10 days. It is a pattern that will produce showers and thunderstorms now, especially next week, taking shape from the Mississippi Valley toward the Ohio Valley. So the models, yeah, they're guesstimating, but it kind of gives you an idea that the pattern is going to become a little active next week, and likely I think that holds into the first week of May. And you know what that is in the Bluegrass State. That's Kentucky Derby week, as the pattern does get a little more active. We could use the rains if we could just time them out perfectly, like what we're trying to do on that 7-day forecast. Storm or two around late tomorrow into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, exactly how you would plan them, with a dry sky and temperatures on the warm side by Sunday at 80 degrees. Then we go into Monday, cue the rain. At least a chance for a shower or thunderstorm as we go into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I think that's a threat that will be with us each and every day next week. Doesn't mean it's going to rain every day. The potential is certainly there.
And notice folks getting those water hoses out, even a few sprinklers here and there.
A little too early to be talking about sprinklers,
right?
isn't it? It's April. Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
As we get a live look at Lexington rush hour traffic, a total of 5 collisions working right now, including one on Nicholasville Road. Backing up there on Nicholasville outbound especially. Also, the crash on Richmond Road, this one is near the water company just before the circle. It has a left lane blocked, and traffic is slowing down at about Shenaway and crawling past that wreck, and one at New Circle and Woodhill. Drive times this afternoon. It looks like we're about normal to Versailles for now once you clear the airport area in Keeneland. Outbound Nicholasville Road to Jessamine County, running 12 to 15 minutes. Now back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Don. Brian Milam in with sports, and last night's UK U of L baseball game entertaining.
It sure was, especially the ending, which was bittersweet for Lexingtonians. And Marcus Lee wants to play in the NBA, but is his UK career over? That and more next in Sport.
What if she's orchestrating this entire thing from behind bars? Those boys are still alive, but for how long?
We have to give her what she wants.
It's okay. Relax.
New Criminal Minds, then Morocco, exotic, and deadly.
These aren't simple kidnappers.
No!
They're serial killers.
To save these Americans, this team will risk everything.
Shots fired!
Criminal Minds Beyond Borders, after Criminal Minds, new CBS tonight.
Hey, how are you? Good.
just got your text.
Yeah, Bath Fest checkout is great.
Treat your family to fresh ground chuck for $2.49 a pound. And packages of raspberries or blackberries are 3 for $5. Great food, low prices at Kroger.
Now during our Off to the Races sale here at One Day Bath by America's Window, get a beautiful new bath or shower installed in as little as 1 day. And call now for huge savings across the board. Save up to 20% on your new bath or shower. Ask about our 0 down and 0 interest option for 12 months. Plus, act now and receive a $500 discount certificate good towards future purchases. You're always a winner at One Day Bath by America's Window.
Value City Furniture presents how to manage all that stuff. Step 1, acquire stuff. A little more and...
Where did my bed go?
Next, consider getting rid of the aforementioned stuff.
No.
Thought so. Now go to Value City Furniture and buy a new storage bed. You'll save money and space without having to get rid of any stuff.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
And that's how to buy the perfect piece at Value City Furniture.
Now I can get more stuff.
Do you want to lose weight quickly and safely? Do you want to be healthy for a lifetime? Kim did and lost 238 pounds at Ageless Medical Weight Loss. Betty did and lost 135 pounds. The Ageless program is a medically supervised, affordable weight loss solution. Call today for a free consultation.
We invited you here today to get your honest opinion about this new car. To keep things unbiased, we removed all the badging and logos. So what do you think it is?
Reminds me a little bit of like an Audi.
I would say Lexus, maybe Acura.
What if I told you this is the 2016 Chevy Malibu?
Wow.
This is a Malibu?
Qualified buyers get 0% financing for 60 months on this Chevy Malibu. Or find your tag and get $2,000 total cash allowance. See your Kentucky Select Chevy dealers.
People know Window World as home of the original 189 window.
But that's just the beginning. We install siding too.
Our siding comes with energy-efficient, form-fitted foam.
Guaranteed for life.
Window World, simply the best siding for less.
You may be entitled to $1,500 for each call you've received from any company collecting a debt. Seems too good to be true, but it's the law.
Stay connected to the news that matters to you, like WKYT on Facebook.
We know next season UK will have a new backcourt. Tyler Eulis, Jamal Murray have both said they are not coming back. Scalabissiere soon joined that club, all hiring agents. Today, we hear from Marcus Lee and his intention. The 6'10 junior told ESPN he has every intention of leaving UK for the draft, but Lee said he's not going to hire an agent, which would leave the door open for a return to Kentucky. Quote, my plan is to go to the NBA. That's the only goal, he said. ESPN is quoting NBA sources who say Lee is a second-round pick. Marcus Lee also told ESPN's Jeff Goodman, quote, that he wants people to know he's serious about entering the draft. Lee said he's talked to John Calipari about making the move. He also said feedback from the NBA will be important, but stopped short of saying he had to be taken with a certain pick. It doesn't necessarily depend on the actual number they project for me. That's what Lee said. John Calipari has offered 6'4" New Albany, Indiana sophomore guard Romeo Langford a scholarship. Langford is ranked number 4 nationally by Scout.com in its national rankings for the 2018 class. Langford led New Albany to the Class 4A state title in March, averaging 29 points, nearly 10 rebounds a game. Langford also has picked up offers from Duke and Kansas this week. Some sad news. Dwayne Pearl Washington, who went from New York City's playgrounds to wonder of the Big East. Well, for Jim Boeheim in Syracuse, he died today at the age of 52 from cancer caused by a brain tumor first diagnosed in 1995. The Pearl was the nation's most sought-after recruit in 1983. Last night, the 12th-ranked baseball Wildcats and 3rd-ranked Louisville Cardinals played maybe the most entertaining game in the history of the rivalry. Kentucky made some of the most incredible defensive plays you will ever see in a lifetime. But in the end, U of L would win it in walk-off fashion when former Tate's Creek star Devin Hairston beat his hometown team with an RBI single in the 9th inning.
You know, I think any walk-off hit is sweet, you know, and it's just a little bit better because my brother's on that team. But, you know, if it were any other team, it would be the same feeling, you know, because that's what you want to do. You want to help your team win, and I was fortunately able to do that tonight.
Good for Devin. You know, we put up a good fight. They fought harder, and they ended up winning.
If it had to be somebody on their teammates, you know it had to be him. That's just how it works.
We talked about those defensive gems coming up in the next half hour. Both of those plays by Storm Wilson and Marcus Carson made the SportsCenter top 10. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That's sports. We'll be right back.